Okay, we're going to hold off on the minutes, and we'll start with the first item, which is the fluoride briefing. Ms. Puckett?
Good morning. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about the community water fluoridation that we have in Dallas and that we've had for, around 50 years. Ken Del Regno, to my left, is Assistant Director over our water production operation, which includes our water treatment plants as well as our raw water supply. So with that, I'm going to ask Ken to kind of walk through this briefing, and if that serves you, Ms. Grayson, then we'll do Q&A. You want to do the briefing
Yes,
first?
let's please do that.
Okay.
So Ken, thank you.
All right, thank you. Go to the next one. The purpose of this today is to provide information on the history, the purpose, the cost benefits of adding fluoride to our drinking water. I'm going to give the outline, the background of how it got started here, the sources, uses, and public benefits, and there's been a recent reevaluation of community water fluoridation, and I'm going to talk about the costs. It began in Dallas in August of 1965 when the council passed a resolution to begin adding fluoridation to the city's water supply. In January of 1966, an ordinance was passed that authorized a special election, and that election was as a result of a petition, and that would make it unlawful to place fluoride in any water sold. The election was held later that month, where the citizens voted against that proposal, meaning they were for the addition of fluoride. And in August of 1966, we began adding fluoride at all three of our water treatment plants. First, just a brief, fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral that's been proven to protect against tooth decay throughout a person's lifetime. The primary sources of fluoride is naturally present in our water supply. It can be added to drinking water at the water plants. It's available in toothpaste, in dental products, and it also naturally occurs in some foods. The benefits are that it reduces the number and severity of cavities. The Centers for Disease Control have said that it's especially beneficial in low-income communities with less access to alternate sources and dental care services. It has less need for fillings and tooth extractions, reduces pain and suffering associated with tooth decay, and can help maintain bone structure. It works by in the mouth because of bacteria that are present consume sugars and actually can attack the minerals in the teeth. And fluoride remineralizes the tooth enamel and makes a much harder material that's less prone to tooth decay. Fluoride is present in our raw water in approximately 0.3 to 0.5 parts per million. This is from natural runoff where it dissolves from geological formations. Since 1966, Dallas has added fluoride to meet recommended levels, and that's known as community water fluoridation. It's been implemented in about 75% of U.S. public water systems. That's about 210 million people in the U.S. and 20 million in Texas. Fluoride is added in the treatment process in Dallas as hydrofluorosilicic acid. It dissociates in water and releases fluoride ions. And like all of our chemicals, it's added to the water based on the flow through the plant using metered fluoride pumps. It's also certified for use in drinking water by the National Sanitation Foundation, the American Water Works Association, and the American National Standards Institute. In 2010, the U.S. Health and Human Services Department and the EPA did a re-evaluation of recommended levels of fluoride in the tap water, and that was based on the current availability of mouthwashes, dental products, and prescriptions that weren't available in the 1960s. They looked at current trends in dental care, how much water children drink, rates of dental fluorosis, and EPA's latest assessment of cumulative sources of fluoride exposure. Now, coming out of that panel, the Department of U.S. Health and Human Services recommended lowering the optimal level from 0.8 parts per million to 0.7 parts per million. And that's a voluntary recommendation. It's not regulated at that level, but the EPA does regulate a maximum level of 4 parts per million. And that could change in the future. Now, coming out of that recommendation, Dr. Howard Koh, who is the Assistant Secretary for Health of the U.S. Health and Human Services Department, had a couple of comments in the study that one of water fluoridation's biggest advantages is that it benefits all residents of a community at home, work, school, or play. It's just not a one-time application. And its effectiveness in preventing tooth decay is not limited to children, but extends throughout life, resulting in improved oral health. The Centers for Disease Control has recognized water fluoridation as one of the 10 great public health achievements of the 20th century. And currently, the American Dental Association unreservedly endorses fluoridation of community water supplies as safe, effective, and necessary in preventing tooth decay, and they've been recommending it since 1950. And the current Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Regina Benjamin, has the comment that she joins with previous Surgeons General in acknowledging community water fluoridation as an effective public health strategy and recommends its continued use and expansion to enhance the oral health of all Americans. And also in Texas, the Texas Department of State Health Services adopted that recommended level of 0.7 parts per million. And any change that would come out in Texas would be led by the EPA. Now, the costs of feeding fluoride to the Dallas citizens, currently under contract, we buy the hydrofluorosilicic acid for about $636 per ton, about 32 cents per pound, and that's in our average feed rates. It's about anywhere from $5 to $6 per million gallons of water treated. And Dallas Water Utility spends approximately $600,000 per year to fluoridate water at all 3 purification plants, and that works out to about 25 cents per person per year. And that's it. Any questions?
So, to the chair, Chairman Fairway, Vice Chair Grayson, we've attached in this appendix a little bit of the historical documents. It may be easier to see at your desk, talking about the different processes. And if the council were to decide, and I'm going to practice a little law, so John Rogers is here, if the council were to wish to change that, I think an amendment to the existing resolution would be required. So, so with that, we'll take any other questions you might have.
No, you go. You're here.
And thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for chairing, and I want to make a declaration. I'm going to have to leave a little early. I got to get to another appointment, a doctor's appointment, so all of it is just conflicting on Memorial Day weekend. But with that, you know, tell me about the fluoride. I was just drinking. Is fluoride in this water?
Depends on the source. A lot of bottled waters come from tap water. They had to do a little extra treatment, add ozone, and do some things. So if it came from a public water supply, it would have fluoride in it also.
And what is the recommendation from you all, the water department, as relate to the fluoride? I've listened to the dentists and the presentations, and I've listened to a little of the opposition, so I've been left open, but leaning toward us utilizing fluoride, depending on you all's
We support the science that's there, that this is a public health addition, and quite frankly, we are in the public health business. We're to provide a safe water for people to drink, and so consistent with that and the consistency with the previous councils, we would support the continuation of that.
Okay. All right, colleagues. Lee? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for that presentation. Just a couple of questions. I noticed in the presentation you mentioned that in the raw water there's fluoride already in there up to 5 parts per million, is that correct?
0.5.
0.5
Right.
parts per million. And our range is, our goal is 0.7 parts per million. So if we were to no longer add fluoride to the water, we would reduce the amount of fluoride in our water by less than half, or maybe just 30%.
It would be below the optimal range.
No, but I mean, it would be.
Correct, it would be less.
Right, so there would still be, we couldn't, and then if we were to remove all fluoride from water, what do you anticipate the cost for that would be?
It really can't be done. It would either have to be distillation or reverse osmosis, be astronomical and capital
I mean,
costs.
more than, I mean,
It'd be more than
600,000
what you
saving?
pay for bottled water. I mean,
So to do reverse osmosis or distillation on all of our potable water in the city of Dallas would cost us millions, billions, $1 billion plant, something like that?
Hundreds of millions at
hundreds of
least.
millions of dollars, I would suspect.
Right. Yeah, it seems a little bit over the top. Well, I certainly appreciate what y'all have shown here and certainly pointed out that the majority of the fluoride in the water of the city of Dallas actually occurs naturally, and also pointing out the scientific studies as well as the endorsements by all the national CDC, National Institutes of Health, and many other organizations that we certainly depend on for information endorsing the use of fluoridation in the water. So thank you for the information.
All right. Others? Ms. Gates? Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not on the committee. I just walked in at the very end of the, when would this come up for a vote? Would it not be until the contract was over with for the fluoride, or?
Well, process-wise, the way I guess I would view it is that there's a resolution that exists that instructs the city manager to do
Right.
certain work. And so, if that, to me, that's the resolution that would have to be amended in
Okay.
order for us to stop. However, if the council didn't approve a new contract for fluoride.
That
then
would trigger it.
That would create a conflict, and so I would defer to the city attorney's office about whether the manager was functioning legally or not without that information.
Because we're operating under that resolution
Right,
that we
right.
provide.
Right.
Okay. So unless there was action taken to change that resolution, we're going to continue to provide fluoride in our water. Is that correct?
That would be
That's-
my understanding.
Okay. Well, thank you for and I had a chance to review it all, and I appreciate the work, and I will be supporting continuing to provide fluoride in our water because I, understand the scientific results that have been proven that this is a public health initiative, and the levels are safe, and they provide a good to our community. So, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Grayson?
I grew up in Chicago before they fluoridated water, and I think I was like 10 years old when they started in the mid-'50s, and had cavities galore. And those were the days before they used Novocaine to fill cavities. So it was really an unpleasant process. No matter how big the cavity was or how deep, they didn't use Novocaine. So for that reason alone, I think fluoride is great because once they started using it, my kids grew up with no cavities. And so I'm very supportive of keeping fluoride in the water. I agree that I think it's a great public health advancement, and I would see no reason that I myself would want to vote to take it out of our water. And I appreciate the briefing. I think it's good to get all the information we can. But after having read a lot of this, listened to the people who are on both sides of this issue, I am in favor of keeping the fluoride in the water. I did notice something that Mr. Cadane passed out here, and it says that the park cities don't fluoridate the water.
That is true.
Why? Do you know why?
That's their choice. I do not know why.
Are they not in our water system?
They don't use our
No,
water?
the Park Cities Municipal Utility District has their own treatment plant and gets water out of Lake Grapevine. So they have similar source water that we do.
So all the cities that we sell water to, of course, have fluoridated water.
That's correct.
Okay. And how many cities do we sell water to?
25.
25? Okay. And have any of them come to us and said, we don't want our water fluoridated?
No, a few that we've heard from are like is your council going to do that? And there wasn't any commentary to us about that. I know there's been talking up in McKinney. I remember hearing about a year ago some push there. They're served by the North Texas Municipal Water District. So most communities in this state fluoridate the water.
Well, my grandkids live in McKinney, so I hope they keep fluoridating the water, because so far they have good teeth. Thank you.
And what would happen if one of our 25 or a couple of our 25 did not want it? What would be their options? Pull out and do what?
What would their options be? They don't have an option. They don't. I mean, they're part of our system, so they'd have to pull out of our system in some way, shape, or form, because they're part of our water system.
Okay. Ms. Cadane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 11, you're saying there that we are already naturally fluoridated from 0.3 to 0.5. How do you control that when you're putting like 0.3? Is that right, into our water, or 0.4?
It ranges. I'll let Ken describe how the
How do you
how
how do you control that we don't get over fluoridated?
We have very accurate positive displacement pumps. They work on a piston, so when it opens, it pulls in a measured amount of product and then pushes it out, and then we measure it several times a day in the finished water. But it's how we feed all of our chemicals. They're all fed by metered pumps, and then we run process control tests 24 hours a day to make sure that we're meeting those levels. Plus, any power failure or anything like that, all of our feed chemicals fail to the off position. They turn off rather than continue going.
And is this pharmaceutical fluoridation?
No.
It's not.
No.
Man-made fluoridation, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what's in it?
Yes, we have specifications when we go out for bid on what's allowed in it by the National Sanitation Foundation, American Water Works. They have to meet those standards for any chemical that's applied, that's added to drinking water. They have to meet those standards.
Well, okay, and you're saying it's totally safe, correct?
That's what the science seems to show, yes.
So, and we get from all of our dentists that this is good for all of our kids, adults, everybody, but still they say we've got the worst cavity rate anywhere. Why? Why is the fluoridation not working?
I don't think we're qualified to answer.
I don't either.
Gentlemen.
I don't think they were qualified actually to say that when they've got so much problem today. That's where I'm going. The other thing is, have you seen toothpaste that has fluoride in the toothpaste?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
And have you read the disclaimer on it which says, do not swallow? And
Right.
if you do swallow this toothpaste, go to get your stomach pumped. And it's only on the fluoridated toothpaste.
Well, toothpaste has fluoride at 10 to 12 parts per million, which is, more than 10 times what's in the drinking water, so that's why it has that. It's topical, and it's designed to be, it's just like a fluoride rinse at the dentist. You spit it out rather than swallow it. So it's just considered a topical application, but it is much higher concentration.
But I'm saying that there is a disclaimer on the fluoride toothpaste only. Doesn't tell you that on the non-fluoride toothpaste. Just on the fluoride toothpaste that says do not swallow, and if you do, you need to go get your stomach pumped. So I'm saying that it could actually be dangerous. The other thing is, Jody, what is the cost of this? And this is in your budget, correct? You have
Yeah.
this in your budget?
Yes.
Is-
This is in our budget. We spend roughly, currently about $600,000 a year out of our total budget on this particular chemical. And I just want to reiterate the difference between the fluoridated toothpaste at 10 to 12 parts per million versus 0.7 is a significant difference. So
Well,
that's the point about the disclaimer on the toothpaste.
Well, that's another reason why I'm saying maybe we're getting over fluoridated. But if that's just to buy the product, correct? What does it take to separate it and all of this?
It's a minimal cost. The cost for,
Tanks and everything?
that's part of the overall capital cost of the plan. I can't recall, because those have been in place for many years. And so, and the maintenance of those is part of it, but it's a small part. The biggest part of our fluoridation cost is the cost of the product.
Well, and I'm not saying we don't need fluoridation. I'm saying it's probably good up to a point, but I'm saying we're naturally getting, I believe, the fluoridation, and from all of the articles I've read, that we need. You know, 98% of Europe is not fluoridated. And they have some of the highest non-dental rates in the country. And the ones that are fluoridated are lower on the list. They've got more cavities and whatnot. So my concern is that we are already naturally fluoridated, and I think we're fluoridated to the correct point. So I think we could possibly be overdoing it, and we don't need the extra fluoridation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And let me ask you something. When we go out, do we bid for the companies to provide the fluoride?
All right, for every chemical that we purchase, chlorine, ferric sulfate,
Has that process begun?
It probably will start sometime later this year. I can't remember how long the price agreement's good for, but it's roughly a year from now.
It runs through January of next
All right.
year.
So we usually get a head start on that to make sure.
So we had the same company, or has it been kind of different companies?
There's a limited number of companies that are in this chemical business. I don't
Right.
remember this particular company. Do you remember?
Pinco.
Pinco. So usually we have 2, maybe 3 companies bid on certain chemicals. It's a small kind of niche procurement, but
Okay. And if we do this project, is 600,000 approximately to do
yes,
this?
a year. Well, approximately $600,000 a year.
And if we don't do it, we stand to be into the millions of dollars in trying to separate it? Is that?
We would have no proposal to remove fluoride that's naturally occurring. And unless we were so instructed to investigate that, that's what would cost literally hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions.
But the increment we're talking about today has to do with the optimum level of fluoride for dental health.
Okay.
And so that is in essence what we are adding to the water over and above the existing background fluoride.
Okay, and we've been doing this for years,
Almost 50.
almost 50. Okay, all right. Look, thank you for the presentation.